Hey, J-Bros popping in here. I want to do this hydraulic fitting video and kind of just show you what I had been doing and basically what I'm doing now. I had some of these seals go bad, and what it basically is, inside the attachment that looks like this, there's a rubber seal in here. And of course, over time, between heat and wear, that'll just wear out. Well, I didn't have the exact O-rings to put in there, and what I was using was just some quick cheap ones that I had. And what it is on these rings, and I'll just show you the biggest difference, there is basically a quality level on these rings. Now, these don't say what quality they are because they're cheap, and these are just something quick that I was using. What you need to have is rings that have this 90 on there. 90 is basically the durability level between just heat and wear. So if you don't have something that's a 90, they're going to be like this. And what happens when they're like this, and I'll show you the difference. Inside here, you'll see where I've pulled this off. This just screws right on and screws right off. You'll see some rubber flakes in there. Well, what that is, that's wear from the attachment ring that I had on that I had replaced. Well, what happened is this spring just slides inside this. You'll see there's black ring right there. What happened is, this is a cheap rubber ring, so when this was going to disconnect, it actually grabbed on to the rubber ring that's inside this style. So the one that plugs into this, that's where the ring's at. Inside here, there's no rubber inside this end. It's inside this style end. Anyway, it grabbed onto here and pulled that ring right out with it. Well, the problem with that is, this is not designed to have a ring here. So that ring is right here, making this one kind of halfway stay open the whole time, and now it's leaking because it's frayed with that chunk there, and then this ring is not supposed to be there. So I'm going to just get this ring dislodged, and what I use for that is I've got this little pick tool right there, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this shaft back a little bit so I can pluck that ring out of there, so that will allow this to release back forward so it can close this gap here, or close that valve so this doesn't leak. But the main purpose of this is to show you how easy it is to fix this. But if you're gonna fix it, what rings to replace it with, and that's these we'll call them nitrobutane rubber 90. You need the 90s, and that's what the durability is on them. But I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. I'm just going to pull this back and go from there, and I'll just kind of show you what it is. And like I said, you want to clean that rubber crap out of there, because anytime you get chunks of rubber and things and stuff, it just gets in your seals, and then it doesn't fully shut. But these things are super easy. It's just, you got to put quality rings on. Okay, so I just wanted to show deep down where I mean these rings are at, and kind of what I was explaining that came out of the other ring. So this ring right here is a tore off chunk that was from this, we'll call it the male adapter. So this side here's the female adapter. Where there is a ring on this one, usually wouldn't fail, and I'll just show you by pulling this back where it's at. So you see that rubber ring right there. It's tough to see, but there's a ring right there, which this then goes over the top. Well, what happened here, because I used a crappy ring, when this compressed, like I mentioned, this ring got wedged back in here, because this ripped off the male end that goes into here. So this pulled this along with it. That's why it's important to use the right ring. So all I did is I just hand pulled this back and used my, oh, there it is, I got my glove in there. I hand pulled this back and used my little pick tool to pick this out of there. So now this is done leaking and won't leak anymore because this is no longer obstructing this from coming forward. So that's the fix on that. So now this portion here is ready to go back in because there's no rings, there's no rubber rings in this thing up on the attachment out here. The only thing is right here. So this is okay to get screwed back on, and this fix is done. I will pull this off and I will show you what this looks like, and I'm going to replace the ring on here. So this one I was removing the obstruction. This one I'm going to remove the bad ring and put a better ring on it. I hope that makes sense. Like I said, it's not as complicated as it seems. And here's the other way you would know that something's stopping this from obstructing, this top cap here was stuck back to where this round ball is. It was stuck basically in this spot there, and you could just see that this wasn't closing all the way. That's how I knew it was basically bad. And then of course it was leaking as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this tightened back on, and then I'm going to get a different wrench and take this off, because for whatever reason on this attachment there's not a end to grab on here, which is weird, because this one, you know, has got a, you know, where you can put a pliers to it, but this one I had to use the locking pliers. But I'll get this tightened up, and this one started to come off. Okay, I got this ring off here, and here it is. What this one entails is you'll see there's the white ring right there, and then the problem that has been for me is that black ring right behind it. And I'm going to show you the difference of how the little bit can just matter ever so slightly. So this here is the ring that I just pulled off. Now this one was temporary, and what sucks so bad about this case that I bought, I couldn't narrow down to see what exact size it was because all the rings were mismatchy throughout the whole dang case. So that's why I was like, okay, for you guys, I'm gonna get a smaller case that comes in more legit. So this is the ring right here that matches closest to this one. Here's the problem with this one. This is the older one. This one was slightly too fat and slightly not wide enough. That's why it was catching. This is the new one that's coming out of the new case. This one right here, as you see it with me, so now you guys will know the size. It's this size right here, which will go up to the diagram. It's the number 10 flat face 5/8. That's what this is. And then we're talking, so Captain O-ring is where I got these. And then you're gonna want the 90. It's got to be the 90. But that's the size of the ring that we're looking for, is the number 10 5/8. So with that being said, all you end up doing is, once again, if you're going to be dinking around with these rings, you're going to want this little tool right here, this little pick. It's just amazing. When you go to install it, you'll want to make sure that that white ring in there is forward. And the black one, you just start from this side and you kind of push it in there at an angle, and it just pops right in there. So pretty easy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set you up on the camera and show you how it goes together. And you don't need to go buy new ones of these. Unless you break one of these, you don't need to go buy these. These are expensive. Just buy the rings. Alright, so here we go. There's the ring. I'm actually going to turn you over here. I got a little stool of mine set up to move stuff around. And what we'll do here, and I know I've showed this before, but I might as well show it again. First thing that goes into the male adapter first is this plunger. This is what catches the ring in here. So we'll just take and drop that in. And see how nice of a seal that is? So that should just totally seal that off, because you're going to get pressure from this side pushing on that ring to lock it off. Then we take and put this goes in there. You drop that in there. So that's now on the back side of here. Then the spring gets dropped in. And then this little guy right here sits in there on that spring. So you're sitting kind of like that. And then what we'll do is I'll flip you back over to the unit. Is you hold this together, and obviously this can get a little bit sloppy. So you'll just kind of guide that on there nice and easy. Of course, you don't want to get paper towel in there when you're screwing it on. Just gotta get over here a little bit. And you just twist that on there. Paper towels everywhere. Get this hydraulic oil on you, and it's just sloppy or just sloppy. Okay. So basically how I ended up doing this, very simple. I got this one here. And really, you shouldn't be using a channel lock. I just cannot find my other adjustable wrench. So I'm going to use this for the time being. And you don't really have to go crazy tight with these either. Okay. There we go. Now we've got that set up, removing that ring, and now right there. See, obviously you can still push on this, because the only thing pushing or holding this there, because there's no pressure on it, it's just that one little spring that I slipped in there. But now that should be pushing this way, and there shouldn't be anything coming out. So I'll get this set up to be fired up and pressurize it, and we'll see if it leaks together. All right, got the rig all fired up. I don't see any leaks whatsoever. So I'd say that seal is good to go. That's the one we replaced. This is the one we pulled the lodge out of. When I get to my attachments, I will, not these, because these ones are already new, but it's my auger, I think, has got the bad attachment that I need to pull out. So when I get to that, I'll need to swap out those, but that's for a different time. But these, as of right now, these are not leaking. If these do start to leak and I have any problems, I'll holler back at you. But as of right now, that's how you get these back to what they need to be. And just to reiterate, it's this ring right here, the number 10 5/8 flat faced, and then just remember, the 90s are what you need. So please like, subscribe, comment down below. J Bros out.